Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if it happens to be your very first time here. My name is Troy, and in the series you're gonna see today, I plan to show that anyone can create a growing source of completely passive income. If this is the first time you're even hearing this series and you wanna know what it's all about, I'm gonna link episode 1 above my head so you can go back and watch that and get an understanding of what I'm trying to accomplish with this series. In that first episode, I explain all things like why I picked the stocks I picked, how much and how often I'm gonna be investing, and the overall goals of this portfolio. Once you're caught up there, feel free to watch the other episodes in order so you can see the natural progression of this portfolio, or you can just come back to this one to see where we're currently at. With that being said, if you're already caught up and you're here for your bi-weekly update, let's get to it. In today's episode, we're going to go over where we left off at the end of last episode. Then I'm going to show the buys completed on March 7th of 2025 in this account, which will feed into the changes to the cost basis of these positions and where the portfolio currently sits after 60 weeks invested. After that, we'll get to see which holdings are the best and worst performers in the portfolio, a season by season breakdown of the progress since we're over 1 year invested, and a chart to show if we're trending in the right direction or not. And to close out the episode, we'll dive into the super juicy stuff like who paid me since last episode, how much they paid me, how we're looking in 2025 in terms of income, see when we're expecting a bonus investment into this portfolio thanks to that passive income, and what cash is headed our way for future episodes. Now, since it's been 2 weeks since the last update, let's quickly see where we left off. So at the conclusion of last episode, we had a goal of $150 per holding. The account balance was sitting at $1,842.70, and this portfolio was hanging on in the green, up $24.76 or 1.38%. Now, let's go ahead and check out the buys just completed in this portfolio with this right here. Here you can see both the $60 auto deposit into the account as well as the $5 invested into each position for this episode. I do have a chart that helps me keep this evened out, which basically just tells me when any position is more than $1 off where it's supposed to be, which is why you might be able to see the extra 61 cents into Intuit and 55 cents into MasterCard. Fidelity requires a minimum of $1 investment, but then they go and add 61 cents and 55 cents into these, which I think is kind of funny, but at least all 12 positions are back within $1 of the new goal amount for each position. So since I just did new buys in this account, let's go ahead and take a peek at the cost basis of these positions and see which ones had the biggest movement in either direction with this right here. With each passing investment into these stocks, the cost basis is likely to fluctuate based on where the stock is currently sitting in price. As a long-term investor, this doesn't matter too much to me on an episode by episode basis, but I still like to track it because I'm weird like that. With that being said, I'm not going to take the time to read all of these, but I will outline the biggest changes since last episode. The biggest decrease, the greenfields, since the last episode goes to CSL, which went from $392.53 per share to $390.20 per share, while the biggest increase, the redfields, since the last episode goes to MasterCard or MA, that went from $480.87 per share to $482.75 per share. Overall, there was a pretty big pullback in this portfolio since last episode, which does mean those positions went down, but it also means I was able to scoop up more shares of these companies that I was going to buy anyway at cheaper prices, so you'd like to see that. With that being said, let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit and see where this portfolio is currently sitting with this right here. So right here is the up-to-date information on the portfolio to reflect our most recent buys completed on Friday, March 7th of 2025 after 60 weeks invested. With this episode, we want each of the 12 positions to be as close to that $155 mark as possible, and with that being said, we have a new account balance of $1,861.86. Now, let me add another screenshot right here with a little bit more information which will feed into what we'll be talking about next. So this is pretty much the same screenshot we were just looking at, but it has the gain and loss information here at the end. I'm not going to read all this information to you guys, so if there's anything you did want to dive into more, feel free to pause the video here if you need more time to do that. The things I did want to outline here are the best performing position in this portfolio, which is AVGO or Broadcom, which is up $36.86 or 23.87%. The worst performing position, which is HUM or Humana, that's down $27.82 or 18.06%, and that overall this portfolio has slipped back into the red and is now down by $16.56 or 0.89% as the rough weeks in the market continue. Next, let's go ahead and add this portfolio performance to the season chart suggested by one of my loyal subscribers, Brad at Beer Review, before checking out the performance trends to make sure that despite this recent downtrend that we're still heading headed in the right direction long term. So on this chart, you'll basically get to see where the portfolio ended at the end of the first year invested, aka season 1, and where it currently sits, aka season 2. Looking at this chart over the very short term won't be as useful as I see it being when this portfolio is many years old, but it'll still be nice to have and build on between now and then. Brad, I'm not sure if you saw my comment back to you on this one, but you mentioned that you wanted to see an overall row so I know my total percentage, and currently whatever you see on the bottom column is the total percentage. So if I'm just not understanding what you mean, let me know in the comments down below. Once again, just like the suggestion that Brad made to get this on this series, let me know if you have any suggestions to make this chart even better or anything else you see in today's video. As I mentioned a little bit ago, I like to think of this chart you guys just saw as the summary chart and this next chart as the trending chart. So let's go ahead and check out that one right here to make sure that we're trending in the right direction. To me, adding something as simple as a trend line can be vital to the success of a long-term investor. For the past 3 episodes or 6 weeks, this portfolio has been in a free fall, as with a large part of the market. Since the goal of most portfolios is to make money and not lose it, that can be really discouraging to see it moving in the wrong direction. But with this simple chart, I can see that despite this recent dip, I'm still overall headed in the right direction, and that's what you want to see, and more importantly, focus on during times like this. As you already saw and should probably know by now, the recent dips on these positions isn't stopping me from adding to these holdings and lowering my cost basis. So when the market does come back up, whenever that is, we'll be sitting pretty. Now to close out the episode, let's make a mad dash towards the passive income side of this portfolio, first by seeing who paid me since the last episode with this right here. So as I foreshadowed in last episode, I was going to be getting a little bit more money to close out February and then wasting no time to kick off March. So let's go ahead and check that out. On February 28th, I did get 11 cents from SPACs as an interest payment on the cash sitting in the account, waiting for that bonus investment. And if you look at this chart, you can see all the interest payments from SPACs in this account so far. And I'm not going to go over all of them because this isn't a growth position, but in total, I've now received $1.04 in interest, which comes out to 5.65% of the total money received in this account. Then the very next business day on March 3rd, I received 37 cents from CSL. And looking at this chart, you can see that this is now my 5th payment from CSL, with the first one being 1 year ago where I brought in 4 cents, which moved up to 11 cents the next payment, 21 cents for the next one, 28 cents for the one after that, and now that 37 cents for this one. In total, CSL has now paid me $1.01, which amounts to 5.48% of the total money received in this account. With that being said, let's go ahead and add that interest payment to February and that CSL dividend to March and see where we are so far in 2025 with this right here. So with that 11 cents from SPACs added in, that closes out February at $1.65, which is 3,200% higher than this time last year. Moving down to March and adding in that CSL dividend, we're already 270% higher than March of last year and 6,111.1% higher than all of Q1 last year, with the rest of March still to come. Down here at the bottom, we compare this year so far to the prior year. At the conclusion of the first week of March in 2025, we're already up to that $11.18 total, which by itself is already 54.4% higher than all of 2024. So I'm excited to see where 2025's total ends up. Now, how I have this portfolio set up, I'll eventually be able to make a bonus investment into these stocks, and thanks to another subscriber, Lee, we can check out the progress towards that with this idea and this chart right here. Last episode, I outlined the idea given by Lee for a chart to track how long it would take at the current pace to add a bonus investment into this account. For those of you who might be a little bit late to the party and have no clue what would cause me to do a bonus investment, let me explain. Since I don't drip in this account in an effort to keep it as balanced as I can, all of the dividends and interest received are just added to the cash balance of the account. Once that amount hits $60, aka the bi-weekly amount I invest in this account, I will do a bonus investment of $5 into each stock. Last episode, I showed you that it was projecting to take me until January 22nd of 2027 to hit that $60 mark at the current pace, but also said while that was a long time, I was excited because I knew with each passing episode, it was going to drop, and I was excited to watch that progress. Well, as a wise man once said, I was right, and right here you can see that new projection is sitting at at December 11th of 2026, knocking off 42 days with just one episode's worth of progress. Obviously, December of 2026 is still a long ways away, but just like it did this episode, with each passing episode, that date will move closer and closer, so I'm super excited to keep tracking this moving forward. Eventually, I might even add a little line chart to show the original projection and how it has dropped as time passes, as I think that could be cool to see in a different way. Now, to close out the video, let's go ahead and see what else is coming down the pipeline for March with this right here. So here you can see what's left for the rest of the month of March and thus closing out Q1. You can see that first payment from CSL that we already talked about, but quickly looking at the rest of the month, it looks like we're expecting 3 more dividend payments, one on the 13th from KNSL, another one week later on the 20th from ODFL, and then the last one of the month from AVGO probably on the 28th or 31st, since the 29th is on a Saturday. Also, not pictured on here is the interest payment somewhere around 10 cents that'll be paid out on the last day of the month, which will boost these March numbers before turning to April. Be sure to come back in 2 weeks as we get another update to the portfolio, track that bonus investment, and check up on the income received in March to that point. But that's going to wrap up this bi-weekly update to the Anyone Can Invest portfolio. If you guys enjoy this series, please let me know that by leaving a like on the video. And if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop those in the comments down below. And if you guys are thinking to yourself that these small amounts of money will never amount to anything, well, the wife and I's portfolio started out just like this and is now worth over $300,000. So if you want to see what this portfolio could possibly look like in the future, make sure you check out that video right here. But until next time, see ya.